Whoa, ass ahoy. Hey, Peter, it's 7 o'clock and you've still got your pants on. What's the occasion?
Ew, I remember this. Peter's eye did that weird creepy thing where it went over his nose.
Come on, you're worrying about nothing.
Remember when you got drunk off the communion wine at church?
Oh boy. If you've been on the air for 25 years, chances are little slip-ups like that are just gonna happen. But we haven't even scratched the surface of slip-ups here. Oh, no way, Jose. For example, our first mistake takes us directly into Harmony's Way. And no, to start, that's not a mistake. It's just the Italian dog that replaced Brian when he died. It's alright, we all tried to forget. Things kick off with Quagmire and Peter hanging out when they realize together they make a pretty good music duo. Observation into their life's obsession.
Every food tastes good with melted cheese.
I like twins unless they're Siamese.
Simon and Garfunkel for the modern Reddit-infused age. Convinced that they're the next big thing, with one singing about credit card debt and, well, you can imagine what Quagmire sings about, the two catch the attention of Mort, who is quick to offer his assistance as the group's manager.
You guys got the talent, but what you need is a manager. Someone with no talent who can take a lion's share of your earnings.
You do that for us?
Peter, it's show business. Without a manager, you'd have to do it all on your own, like using TikTok or something. Performing as Griffin and Quagmire, the two fail to impress the crowd at the Quahog library, but Mort is quick to tell the two that he uploaded their performance to BoobTube. Not like I take offense to being labeled a boob or anything.
Now let this be a lesson to you kids. If you randomly stumble upon an amazing talent and someone important sees it by wild coincidence, great things can happen without any hard work.
It's America, Peter. The more we can get for doing less, the happier we are. Capitalizing on their virality, the two perform at this giant New England festival, and if you don't consider butter on a Pop-Tart as one of Family Guy's finest musical moments, I don't know that I can trust you.
So I put butter on a Pop-Tart. It was so friggin' good. Have you ever put butter on a Pop-Tart? If you haven't, then I think you should.
As many times as I've heard this song, it still can't actually convince me to put butter on a Pop-Tart. Ditching Mort for a bigwig studio executive because, of course, they tore the house down doing butter on a Pop-Tart, Peter and Quagmire go on a nationwide tour, which of course means leaving his family behind right before Thanksgiving.
I mean, if I'm not there, who's gonna carve the turkey?
I don't understand!
Answer, they'll eat what's left of Brian. Hopefully. We get a sweet montage of some questionable Griffin and Quagmire songs about brushing your teeth at work and ethnic-based traffic humor, alongside Peter doing rock star things like shooting up flu juice. Oh, and designing the album covers, that too. All three of those are images AI could try forever, but never fully recreate. After getting a gig on Conan, they perform another off-color song, which we sadly aren't even able to hear the end of, as Peter somehow has a malfunction with an acoustic guitar.
Come on, you. Get out of there.
I'm surprised he lasted that long before smashing or having that thing smashed on him, honestly. And in frustration over Peter's antics, Quagmire blows up and quits on him, forcing Peter to return home with his butter and Pop-Tarts tucked in between his legs. And this is where the mistake comes in.
I'm so sorry that I left my family, that I decided to roam.
And yeah, if you're a hardcore Family Guy fan, you may already notice what's wrong. There's an intersection on Spooner Street that's never been there before. It stays there while Peter explains Quagmire split up the group, but the second Lois accepts his apology and jumps into his arms, it disappears again. The Ghost Road may be forgotten, but the songs of Griffin and Quagmire will never fade from memory. The episode ends happily, with Quagmire coming back and Peter definitely not shooting himself on the tour bus. But while that error was surprising, considering how simple the scene was, Seahorse Seashell Party is full of animation so complicated, it's no wonder there'd be a little slip-up or two. Some may say even animating that scene is a mistake itself. Things start like any good adventure does, with a storm a-brewing outside. Forced to stay indoors, the Griffin family all resort to their own methods of keeping themselves busy. And for Brian, of course, that means drugs.
These are mushrooms. It's a psychedelic drug. Makes you see weird things and feel happy for a few hours.
So the dog on magic mushrooms is about to be the most sane person in the house. Cool. The rest of the Griffins are keeping themselves busy with more traditional methods, charades, annoying dad noises, and of course, cutaway gags. But before we can even get a giant chicken appearance, we find out Brian is already fully tripping balls.
I'm gonna cut my ear off to prevent World War II.
Oh, God! Side note, how is a dog holding and using scissors? And don't say he has human hands. I counted 4 fingers. That's still not enough. Stewie comes to Brian's aid like a World War II vet and stitches Brian's ear up all nice and well, all the while Peter and everyone else is downstairs. being entertained by Peter's antics, as always.
I am sick of all you guys ganging up on me. You guys all think you're so much better than me.
Yes, it's the meme. And yes, Meg, you are valid. Meanwhile, Brian is lucky the baby is there to baby him because boy is he freaking out. Must have had one magic mushy too many because we get a pretty in-depth hallucination sequence that even sober is kind of freaking me out.
Did you try the chicken, buddy?
I think you gave me worms, Brian.
Dang. And poor Chris is nowhere to be seen. Not that it's a good thing to be featured in a fever dream, but in the real world, Chris is very present as him and Meg are arguing, or rather, Meg is unloading everything everyone has ever done to her. It gets so bad she lashes out on Lois for being a shoplifting, drug-addicted, irresponsible, as Meg eloquently put it.
Not only are you not the perfect mother, you're the furthest thing from.
This is true. She isn't even the best mom in her TV universe. Shoutouts to Francine for that one. You're the best, boo. But everything that she just said is understating it. Meg continues to absolutely tear into Lois, and honestly, it's introspective and true, and it ends with Lois actually realizing that and breaking down in tears because of it. And it's during Lois getting to the root of her issues with Meg that we get a blink and you'll miss it mistake.
I just have this horrible, overwhelming desire to point out faults in you. I don't know where it comes from.
Did you see it? Meg starts the scene with her arms crossed, but in the very next frame, they're at her sides. Dang, breaking down domestic trauma, and Meg still can't help but be a mistake. And if you thought what Meg had to say about Lois was bad, you can imagine.
When you're not terrorizing the community with your impulsive escapades, you're being a total jerk to your family. You shove your daughter's face in your ass and you fart on it.
Didn't even let me finish the sentence. What she'd say about Peter. But yeah, still valid points overall. After Lois, Meg lashes into Peter, calling him a drunken Irish failure whose life and kids suck. This, of course, causes Lois and Peter to argue, which leads to everyone in the house getting their frustrations with one another out. Everyone runs out of the room except for Brian and Meg, and the two come to the realization Meg kind of holds the family together as sort of a pink cat punching bag of sorts. You're a
Yes, I am.
How lovely. Maybe you were disgusted by the end of that episode, or the animation of that shroom trip. Well, I got bad news. The episode Meg and Quagmire keeps this gravy train of disgustingness going.
What is going on over here? We taking our shirts off now? Okay, follow the leader.
The episode starts with the premise that you can smell from a mile away. Meg turned 18, which is the age of consent in Quahog. Glenn Quagmire's green light lights up for anyone or anything he knows that is 18. So after the family attends the Teen Choice Awards hosted by Zach Chadwick and C. Zachary Chad, of course, we get Meg's surprise birthday party.
Surprise!
Oh dear.
Meg's 18th birthday was such a surprise that literally nobody knew about it. Thankfully, one guest arrives, Glenn Quagmire, who's there to wish Meg a happy 18th, and absolutely nothing else. So naturally, he brings her a scented candle and starts rubbing her thigh. You know, friend things.
Look at Quagmire hitting on that skank. You know he's gonna close the deal.
Peter, that skank is your daughter.
If nothing else, you gotta admire Peter for Meg and Quagmire's biggest fan and best cheerleader. Remembering who his friend is, Peter kicks Quagmire out and swears to keep him and Meg away, but be real with yourselves, you know Quagmire's got ways around that. Intricate methods like texting her and then coming over.
Bye, you guys. Me and Glenn are going out.
What? Like hell you are?
Peter, he took off the jeans and the Hawaiian shirt. He's a changed man now. He's classy. And at their dinner date, things actually go pretty well. Well, as well as they can with Glenn in public. The two even setting up a second date after Quagmire drops Meg off. After that, though, Quagmire heads home to see who else but Peter waiting for him.
I want you to stay the hell away from her.
Peter, it's me, Quagmire. This is what I do. Besides, Meg is 18 now, and you've got to let go. You've done your job. It's my turn now.
Quagmire gets right back to work doing what he does best, innocent friend stuff like tickling Meg on the couch. And it's here where for a split second, literally a single frame, we see Meg's lips disappear. Errors like this are a lot more common than you'd think. They happen so quick, it's hard to even notice, but if you squint, you can.
But you can't pause me.
Lipless Meg. Peter's gotten his wish. She finally shut up, I guess. Peter does everything in his power to scare her away from Quagmire, except, telling her not to spend the weekend with Quagmire in his cabin, which has got to be a death sentence for any girl's innocence, or my sanity.
Thanks for the ice cream, Glenn. And you're right. Somehow it does taste better in my underpants.
Dang, he even got her to take the hat off. That's frickin' nuts, man. I've never seen that. Why is that creepier than lipless Meg? But Quagmire, thankfully, doesn't get what he really wants as Peter and Lois bust in and confront the frickin' creep, with Meg agreeing to stop talking to him. Wow, for once they actually care about her, even when she finally shut up for a single frame. And speaking of shutting up, if Lois had just not talked, we never would have gotten this mistake from way back in Season 2, Episode 5's Love Thy Trophy. The episode kicks off with Peter's float idea winning a contest to appear in the big Quahog parade. And what was this idea, you may be asking yourselves right about now? Well, it's early season Family Guy, so it's a reference to a TV show you've probably never heard of and will probably never see ever. Who's the Boss?
Your theme is a dud.
Yeah, I've never even seen Who's the Boss.
Okay, good, so I'm not crazy. Seth MacFarlane it is. But Peter's a good talker and convinces all his friends and their kids to construct his 80s TV float, which ends up winning the float contest. But the celebration does not last long, as the king immediately begins to fight over the coveted Golden Oyster Trophy.
There's only one way to settle this. Russian roulette. 3 bullets, last guy standing keeps the trophy. Me first.
But Peter does come up with a real solution, displaying it on Spooner Street alongside the float, which somehow drives the ambiance of the scenery up and down at the same time. And it works great until someone steals the trophy, which causes everyone on Spooner Street to lose it at one another.
Those Griffins always were oddballs, Joe. Real oddballs. I don't trust them.
Peter manages to get everyone out of their houses, where he tears Spooner Street down trying to find the trophy, only to come home and find that his house has been ransacked as well. This leads to an all-out war on the street.
The Griffins are not to be trusted.
With tensions as high as they've ever been on Spooner Street, Stewie gets claimed by Child Protective Services working on a tip related to Meg lying about doing crack and being Stewie's baby mama to get waitress tips. Long story, man. This, of course, leads to the Griffins accusing just about everyone on Spooner Street of taking Stewie from them.
You told Child Services that we steal lawnmowers, cheat on our tax, and worship some guy named Stan.
Actually, I said Satan. That's a typo.
Again, no mention of the dog that walks upright, and it's that dog that understands it was the greed of the trophy that tore their friendship apart. And after a nice speech from the Beagle of Reason, the group agrees to group up and get Stewie back. And this is where we get our error, and it is quite a noticeable one. In the van, doing recon for their hubbies, Bonnie and Lois are having a convo when...
God, it gets me hot when Joe lies to strangers. When I get him home, I swear to God, I'm gonna grease up
That's fine, Debbie.
Yeah, maybe she was distracted by all that gross Joe dirty talk, but Bonnie had been Bonnie more than a few times in the series up to this point, so it must have just been an overlooked voice actor error. I mean, Bonnie does sound like Debbie a bit. The episode ends with Peter getting caught with Stewie in hand, which leads to some negotiations with Stewie's foster family, which leads Meg trading her Prada bag for Stewie. Brian is unveiled as the trophy thief, and Spooner Street is together again, at least until Cleveland leaves for Virginia. And speaking of Cleveland, this next goof involves him and his signature stash. We're going to Season 13's Take My Wife, and yes, the title lives up to the name. I sure hope that was sunscreen. The episode starts with the gang playing cards when Lois comes in with news. She's booked a couples-only trip to the Bahamas, which means even Quagmire had to scrounge up someone to bring with him.
Say, Lois, I know you said this trip was couples only, but great news! We're now a couple!
It takes a Bahama vacation for Quagmire to settle down. Of course it does. The couples all settle peacefully into the resort while Lois's dad, Carter, is trying to keep his phone-addicted grandkids company, which forces him to confiscate their gadgets so they can have fun the old-fashioned way. Back at the resort, the couples attend a beach barbecue that quickly turns into a lot more. This entire time, it was a couples therapy trip, so yay!
Jeez, couples counseling? This is the worst thing that's ever happened to anyone.
And of course, there's nothing fun about couples counseling, but it's the Bahamas, so they're gonna make it fun. The head counselor tells the couples he ran some personality tests, and none of the couples are compatible with each other, but they are highly compatible with other members, so basically, they're swapping for a morning.
Okay, so the new couple pairings are as follows. Cleveland and Lois.
Oh, cool! My FICO score just went up 100 points.
Dang, maybe she should have went with him to Virginia to save his show, too. I'm sorry. Donna gets paired with Joe, Bunny with Quagmire, and Quag's girlfriend with Peter, which you just know is gonna end well. We get a montage that shows the swapped out couples getting along quite fine, which sets Lois over the edge when Peter and Kimberly get along a little too well.
I can see now that coming here was a huge mistake. You're hopeless, Peter.
Your feet look old.
Lois gets off the hook again for her pyramid nose. But if you thought Naggy Lois was the villain here, you'd be wrong, as the group of island employees take arms to overthrow the resort. In a desperate move, Peter tries a flare gun to get an overhead plane's attention, and... in another if you don't pause you'll miss it moment, we see very briefly that Cleveland's mustache disappears for a brief second as he turns his head to shield from the plane, leaving behind only an outline. I think without it he's totally unrecognizable, so I'm glad it came right back. But if these couples don't think fast, they'll never make it back. And truthfully, it's a miracle they've made it this long without driving each other nuts.
Thanks for changing your mind about drowning me in that river.
Joe's lucky she's not Bonnie, that's all I gotta say. The couples all get caught with the island natives taking them away to be executed one by one, and it's Peter who gives a lovely speech about him and Lois and how much they mean to each other, who gets shot. No, I'm kidding. It was all just in the name of marriage counseling. I'm sorry, what?
Oh, that's what they meant on their website. Stage Revolution Marital Counseling. It all makes sense.
Maybe we could take a step back and help Lois learn to read before trying to fix her marriage. Priorities, people. These things are back to normal. Things never change, I guess. Actually, hold that thought. Our next error involves something changing quite a bit. Season 3, Episode 2, Brian Does Hollywood. Take a guess as to what it is. I guarantee you won't get it right. With this episode being the second half of a two-parter, all you really need to know is that Brian has left Quahog to find himself in Hollywood, which is going about as well as you'd expect, coming from the smuggest dog on the planet.
Keanu Reeves, wow. You know, I don't usually gush, so you'll have to forgive me, but when I was writing Coast Guard, that's what I do, I'm a writer.
Oh, Brian, we know. We know. But as annoying and try-hard and know-it-all as Brian really is, the Griffins do super miss him and begin to plan on auditioning Stewie for a TV show so they can go out to see Brian. And it's during these auditions we notice Peter dressed up in a nice blue suit. That is, until it immediately switches to gray the very next frame. But the suit ain't done changing yet, as in the next shot and after the audition, Peter goes back to his signature white top, green pants look. Maybe the animators just weren't used to Peter wearing anything besides that. Stewie woos the audience, the Griffins get their free trip to LA, where Brian is doing what failed screenwriters did 20 years ago, wallow in their apartment. Nowadays, they stream.
I was thinking Halle Berry would be perfect as the camp counselor all the kids want to get with.
I'm sure you were, Brian. I'm sure you were. And with the Griffins in town, Brian wants to act like he's a Hollywood local and invites the Griffins out to a fancy dinner to celebrate him selling his new script. But the celebration doesn't last long, as the very next day we find out the reality of the situation. Brian is not directing a Hollywood movie. He's directing an adult movie.
I want to make this perfectly clear. There is absolutely no way I would possibly consider doing something like this. Unless I saw a script first.
He doesn't just have that dog in him, he is the dog. But Brian can't help interject his stupid nonsense even into something as surface level as adult entertainment, lecturing the models about subtext and stuff. But Brian interjecting isn't as painful as watching Bill Cosby interacting with Stewie, which hasn't aged well because Bill Cosby's in it.
I like pudding, and Ghost Dad was the best movie I've seen since Leonard Part 6.
See, 30 years ago, to make fun of a terrible criminal, you had to hit his box office records first. But it's not all gloom and doom, as Brian is nominated for an award for directing his adult movie, shockingly, which just proves men will watch anything as long as it involves sexy time. Not even Brian's stupid smug writing can come in the way of that, apparently. The Griffins come to celebrate, Brian learns they aren't ashamed of him, and everyone returns to Quahog happy, and only a little.
Wow, that was a wonderful trip, and everyone has something to remember it by.
Taking a page from the Book of Quagmire, huh? Can only imagine how Peter feels with that. Speaking of Peter, he's responsible for an error that you'll never be able to unhear in the episode Peter's Two Dads. But before we get to that, we gotta get through this.
So which one of you wants to lose your virginity?
Keep him away from teenagers. Everything is going normal until Meg selfishly demands a birthday party, causing the Griffins to whip up something in a hurry. Despite the rush, tons of people end up coming by, including Quagmire and Peter's dad Francis, and all things considered for Meg, it's a pretty solid party. But she doesn't see it that way personally. She thinks it's childish.
Hey kids, I'm Pete Pants, the inebriated hobo clown. I'm an adorable tramp who wears found clothing and eats out of your garbage can.
So it's just Peter behaving like himself in ripped pants and face paint. We get some entertainment from Stewie being a brat and opening Meg's presents along with Chris and Herbert performing their duets like they do so well. But it's all in build up to Peter doing his unicycle stairs bit, which cracks up his father, literally.
This is gonna blow you guys away.
Grandpa! Oh my God, is he breathing?
Well, Peter was right, it did blow at least one person away. Forever. Peter's upset about killing his dad, but everyone else is kind of happy to see Francis's angry Irish butt gone. And of course, before he died, Francis had to call Peter a lazy fat drunk, which bothers Peter quite a bit and causes him to seek help for his drinking.
Okay, for starters, why don't you just lay back and relax?
I'm getting something.
Happy Father's Day, Dad!
I'm not your father.
Well, at least now he knows he only killed some random old guy. Actually, that somehow sounds even worse. I don't know. It's not better. Back with Lois, Stewie's acting up as most 2-year-olds do, causing Lois to, well, beat the fracking crap out of him. Now, normally one would call CPS here, but in all of it, Stewie learns something about himself.
It was awful, Rupert. I felt terrified and brutalized and humiliated and alive.
In 2025, this is just how Discord admins are born. But in the Family Guy world, it just makes Stewie want to aggravate Lois more, and if you thought the evil baby was bad before, this time around he's literally asking for it, so when he sees the chance to make a mess...
You want some juice?
Oh, that'd be lovely.
Oh, Stewie!
Yeah? Now, maybe Stewie added sound effects to make it seem worse, but otherwise, this cup is magic, as you all heard glass shattering. But look, the glass is fine. In reality, it's an error, but this time on the part of the audio team. Or maybe the animators drew it wrong. You know what? It's a team failure. Back with Peter, he's tracked his real dad down to somewhere in Ireland, and luckily, he doesn't need to go far to find a man who couldn't not be Peter Griffin's dad, because he's the town drunk, which is a good thing in Ireland, because of course it is.
Excuse me, sir? My name is Peter.
Pleased to meet you, lad. Name's Mickey.
This may be hard for you to believe, but you're my father.
Is it hard to believe? You guys have the same genes, in both senses of the word. And white dress shirt, too. But Mickey doesn't see the resemblance, and so does not accept Peter's apology. And it takes the wise words of Francis Griffin for Peter to remember who he is. A fat, stinking drunk. Challenging Mickey to a drinking contest, Peter wins, leaving Mickey with nothing to deny anymore.
Nobody but a McFinnigan could handle that much of the creature. You're the broth of me own stubby shillelagh, all right?
Peter McFinnigan. At least Meg McFinnigan sounds a little better than Griffin. Peter sings a nice little jig about his real dad who's never seen again, and the episode wraps up on a nice little sentimental note. But season 5 doesn't get away scot-free because it's popping right back up on our list with its 3rd episode, Hell Comes to Quahog, and we don't have to wait long to get to the mistake as it comes just within a minute.
Oh yes, I slam it and you can suck it.
No, the error isn't what Joe's saying, making no sense. It's the Pawtucket Patriot Ale sign. See, it's spelled Partrot, which doesn't sound half bad, but is not the right way of spelling patriot. And it's at the Clem, while chugging some Partrot ales, where the guys get the idea to go to the roller skating rink, where we get one of the greatest sequences in Family Guy history. The Empire Strikes Back at Family Guy music remixes. And it's at the roller skating rink where Peter leaves Meg to walk home in the rain, prompting Meg to aggressively ask for her own car. Jeez, Meg, stop being so needy. Walking's good for you. But Peter gives in and agrees to buy Meg a car, and being the genius he is, walks out with a tank. He bought a literal tank.
I bought a tank!
Are you out of your mind?
Let me show you how the gun works.
The tank just makes the Peter captor look like a sad excuse of a vehicle, and that's saying something. But the tank is Meg's, and it's hers to use and own, and while teaching Meg how to operate it, he runs over Joe, who then proceeds to confiscate it, forcing Meg to get a job at Superstore USA, a big box retail store that's moved into Quahog and is eating up all the small businesses.
Hey guys, what's going on?
Oh, Peter, Superstore USA has taken all my business.
Mine too.
Maybe I'm a bad fan, but I didn't even know Cleveland had a business. Seems like bad advertising. I would know. But Brian, being the lib he is, rightfully rages war against Superstore USA for running everyone out of business, including Peter's very own Pawtucket Partrot. I mean, Patriot Ale, whatever.
Superstore USA has their own brewery on site and can sell beer at a much cheaper price, so management has decided to close down.
Could you imagine if Walmarts and Targets had their own on-site breweries? America would be in shambles. Things get even worse when the worst heat wave in years hits Quahog, and yes, the Superstore is making things worse, sucking up all the energy for their own greedy aisles. Shameful. Fed up with it, the people of Quahog protest against the store, with Peter leading the way, until...
My God, look at this wonderland of treasures. What would a guy like me have to do to be part of this magical world?
Dang, just wait till he gets to the built-in Subway restaurant. He's gonna lose his frickin' marbles. So now he's working for Superstore USA with Meg as his supervisor, and that goes about as well as you'd think, as pretty soon Meg is asked to fire Peter, which even after berating Peter for being a giant frickin' idiot, she can't bring herself to do it.
But you're also my father, and you're the only one I'll ever have. So I'm not gonna fire you, Mr. Berg. I quit.
Just give it a few more seasons, Meg. He'll make you regret ever saying that. But one thing Peter can't regret is the tank, which Brian and Stewie used to take down the Superstore in one giant explosion, as it deserves for ridding us of Cleveland's deli. Or as Peter puts it,
any problem caused by a tank can be solved by a tank.
But you know, sometimes problems keep happening and happening. And the episode Barely Legal proves that time and time again, specifically regarding Cleveland's bathtub. Though don't worry, certain other problems also rear their ugly heads in this one.
Oh no!
no, there's no police here to help me. I hope you don't find the money strapped to my thigh.
Herbert's the oldest problem in the book. The episode starts off with the Quahog police being sent to Colombia for Seth MacFarlane's 80s TV references reasons, which enables Peter to do whatever he wants. So naturally, he seeks out disorder and chaos in giraffe form.
Peter, what is that?
This would be a giraffe, Isaac Newton. I stole it from the zoo. What with Mayor West sending all the cops away, everybody can do whatever they want.
So did the zoo employees all just quit, or are they also running around Quahog riding gorillas and rhinos? Peter, of course, has a hard time keeping the giraffe under control, which leads to some questionable confusion with Quagmire before the giraffe does the one thing you'd probably expect a loose giraffe on Spooner Street to do: disrupt Cleveland's bath.
No. I gotta stop taking my baths during Peter's shenanigans.
And although you may have seen this sequence dozens of times, have you ever realized there's no plumbing attached to Cleveland's toilet or tub to his house? It's just like floating up there, and it's a mistake that seemingly never gets fixed. Oh well, Cleveland dangling off plumbing isn't as funny as him bathing on his lawn anyways. But seeing Meg cry is always funny in this universe, especially when it's because boys are rejecting her apparently. It's prom season and Meg's got no one to go with, until Brian decides to accompany her.
Brian, will you go with me?
Are you gonna kill yourself if I don't?
Yeah!
Well, then my hands are pretty much tied.
We love Meg's manipulator vibes, don't we, folks? And all things considered, Meg manipulates her way into a pretty good night as Brian ends up defending Meg for all the crap she gets at home and in school, but finally the moment takes them and they kiss.
Sorry, that was the booze, not you.
And of course, Stewie's desperate for details as he quickly picks up on the fact that Meg and Brian are a couple, which that household is going to be a ticking time bomb for making fun of Brian, isn't it? Because Meg isn't stopping. She's never going to. And Brian isn't strong enough to stop it.
Oh, we're more than friends, Mom. Last night at the dance, Brian.
Well, last night we decided to be best friends. Right, Meg? Come on, let's go to the mall. We'll get you a big old pretzel.
The last thing you want to do to convince a girl you aren't interested is buy her mall pretzels, Brian. Smarten up, dude. But Brian does smarten up, actually, and tells Meg that they're just friends. That's how it's gonna stay. Which Meg has a hard time accepting. And if you thought Brian was going to stop Meg in her rampage, well, no. Because after forcing Brian to eat some pie with her beanie hair in it, Brian comes clean to Lois to try and stop the situation.
I may have made out with Meg. Okay, I had that coming.
I said it before, I'll say it again. Brian got that dog in him. He is the dog, and he got the dog in him. Meg got that crazy psycho in her. So naturally, she ties Brian up, takes him to who knows where, and with the Quahog police still in Colombia, it's up to recent police school graduates, Peter, Cleveland, and Quagmire, to find Brian. And somehow the responsibility falls on Quagmire, who isn't being motivated by but Meg's genuine well-being.
This book helped me when I was about your age. It let me know that as long as I kept on rolling, I'd find that one person who would make me whole.
Dang. And 30 seasons later, they still haven't given Meg a real boyfriend. Oh well, at least she can forget about her dad's dog and move on. And speaking of forgetting about Brian, Season 2, Episode 10's Running Mates has a mistake that forgets a pretty big part of Brian. Just like how this dude forgot a pretty big part of morality.
Cute angles, A and B. Any questions?
He, Herbert, and Quagmire should all be put in the slammer at this point. Things kick off with Lois running for the school board because if Quahog's current youth is any indication, that place needs a changin'. And Griffin children aren't immune to it as Peter and Lois find out Chris has gotten in trouble.
Mr. Griffin, I'm afraid I have bad news. I caught your son peeking into the girls' locker room.
He was just looking for the evil monkey, Teach. What don't you understand about that? At James Woods High, Peter runs into an old teacher of his, Mr. Vargas, who's been hampered by the pharmaceutical age. Peter tells him to ditch the pills so he can be his old zany self again. Medical advice from Peter Griffin. That is what our teachers need. Later that day, Lois gets the news that her opponent in the school board race has dropped out, leaving her unopposed. We also find out Peter's ex-teacher, Mr. Vargas, has also been fired, and while Lois agrees to the decision, Peter doesn't, and the two suddenly find themselves at odds.
I'm not giving that lunatic his job back in that final.
Lois, I can't let you deprive our children of a fine teacher like Mr. Vargas.
The future of the kids in the hands of Peter and Lois. Dear heavens, if you thought Meg and Chris were bad. Peter Griffin decides to really go to bat for Mr. Vargas, telling Lois he's gonna beat her bad and restore Mr. Vargas's good name. And Peter's a hit on the campus trail. His Santa Claus-esque charisma going up against Lois's nasally nagging is sure to get him the victory. But Lois seems to have the momentum with the voters.
Peter, I'm concerned that your candidacy may have become a lost cause. The debate is tonight, and you don't seem to have any supporters.
What people don't want to vote for the dude who fights giant chickens and created Meg Griffin? You're kidding me. With his campaign on life support, Peter and Lois meet for the televised debate. All the Griffins gather around to watch it, except for Stewie, who sings a nice little Seth show tune about how much he misses her. I wish the debate was that sweet. It wasn't.
Children of Quahog are our greatest treasure. They deserve a school board president who doesn't leave their feminine ointments in the fridge next to the mustard. That was the worst hot dog I ever ate.
Peter, be grateful. Someone like Brian or Quagmire would pay for a Lois ointment hot dog. Lois manages to give a good speech about how Peter can't handle the job, and it works the crowd pretty well. But Peter raises the stakes in a psychotic way by running an ad showcasing a picture of Lois in her nightgown. Good heavens, man. Showing off your wife to win school board. There's a lot to unpack there.
Lewd, obscene, and a little blurry. Just some of the words used to describe Lois Griffin's prurient pic.
Maybe if Peter included her link, it wouldn't have been such a big deal. Sadly, however, Peter's gross tactics end up paying off and he wins the election. Lois is obviously upset about it, but Peter is determined to prove her wrong and actually do things as Parent-Teacher Association president would. And he barely gets the chance to try as the media uncovers dirty magazines in nearly every student's locker, and Chris and Peter Griffin are called out as responsible for it.
What kind of pervert gave you kids this filth?
Chris Griffin. He got him from his dad.
So did the librarian just not care, or was he in on it too? Desperate to restore his good name, Peter attempts to blame Lois for giving Chris dirty magazines to the media, but he can't bring himself to lie or disrespect Lois any more than he already has. So he breaks down, begs for Lois to forgive him, which she does.
Lois, I only hope you can find it in your heart to forgive me.
Oh, Peter.
And boom, there's your mistake. And no, it isn't Lois accepting Peter's apology so quickly. Look at Trisha there as she runs up. There are 3 redheaded guys behind her, but as the shot zooms in, there they are. And they disappear again in the next zoom out shot. Well, no harm, no foul, I guess. And the episode ends with Peter and Lois running off together, ready to terrorize Quahog as a couple again. How sweet. And that's all I got for you today. But if you want to check out more Family Guy greatness, click the video on screen right about now. Thanks for watching.